Not yet. Don't go yet.
It's a train wreck.
Hey, everybody. No? Okay, hey, everybody. Now we can go. How to be a Texan. Welcome. What's going on?
I'm following simple directions.
I just love coming in on the wrong part of
you're
that
good at it. You're
song.
really good at it.
It's such a nice strumming guitar, whatever. Is that you playing?
It's not.
You know, y'all don't know, but Kevin is a gifted guitarist.
I wouldn't say that.
Gifted.
Somebody gifted me a guitar one time.
No, he really is. He's very, very good. So, okay. Well,
no, that's not me.
Hey, welcome here. So we got Sammy. Sammy, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Hey, good to see you. All right. Now we got Kevin.
Hey.
All right. And tonight,
I'm the weak link now that Sammy's on here. She's much smarter than I am.
Strong player.
Yeah,
strong player.
Very
okay. So tonight we thought we'd give you two bits of information. One would be we're going to talk about droughts and rainfall in Texas. I thought so too, but this is good stuff. What do you talk about with people when you really don't know them?
You just talk about the weather because you don't know what else to talk about.
Yeah, and the first thing pops up, when's it going to rain?
When's it going to rain?
Hey, boy, sure could use some rain, couldn't we?
I'd go to California, a couple times a month, and it's always... Is it hot out there? Yeah. Yeah. Well, the weather's perfect out here, Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Is it dry out there? Yeah. Dry out here, too.
Yeah. See, that's what
I was out there, and this is the weirdest thing. If you remember a couple years ago in California, they had those massive fires like in Napa Valley.
Oh, yeah.
Took out all those wineries.
Yes.
So... a lot of people are suing PG&E, the electric utility company out there.
Really?
Yeah, big time.
Why?
Okay, so what happened was apparently a transformer blew.
Okay.
Right, which happens all the time around here.
Yeah, and it started the wildfire?
It started a fire, and then there's some kind of, I wish I would have researched this, but I didn't. There's some kind of massive winds that come through at this time of the year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so those winds picked it up and just spread this huge fire.
Oh,
and it took out all these properties in Napa
last
year or 2 years ago.
Right.
So when I was out there last week, PG&E is now shutting off power.
What, like rolling blackouts?
Yeah.
Brownouts, blackouts, whatever you call them?
Power outages. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Just to keep things cool down?
Yeah. When I was talking to a friend of mine that lives there, and he was saying basically it's PG&E saying, F you to California because they're putting all the liability on them.
Wow.
So now they're saying, fine, we'll shut the power off.
Well, transformers get blown all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Oh, my God.
So imagine that. So this is Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And in Silicon Valley,
with no power,
you got power being shut off for hours and hours at a time.
Oh, my goodness.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, regardless, rain is... I've told you about the 5 levels of communication. Have I ever told you about that?
No.
I go to all these classes on how to better communicate with people.
Yeah. How's it working?
Quite poorly, actually. But level 5 is the level that we stay at about 95% of the time with
just
everybody around.
Surface level, weather.
Yeah, it's like, hey, how the kids? How's your dog? How's the weather? Whatever. Just level 5. And then you go down to level 1, was just deep, heart-to-heart, emotional, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get down to that level 1. And, it's just very, very hard to do that.
Yeah.
But weather, it's what we talk about. For the most part, it's what we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
But the one thing I thought would be interesting to talk about was kind of rainfall by region, and then the droughts that occur in Texas that are such kind of big markers for us. And we think we're in a drought all the time until we're not, and then all of a sudden we think we're in a drought again, right?
Don't you think we've had more rain here recently than no, not in the past couple of months. It's been super, super dry. But it seems like the past spring we had a ton of rain.
That's right.
Just more than I can remember.
We did.
In my lifetime.
No,
I've lived here my whole life.
We did. And so just a little bit about that. I researched the rainfall by region, and it's interesting because, first of all, people can't agree on the different regions of Texas. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Remember back in Texas history when we were growing up, they say, well, the Piney Woods region and this and that and whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
the big thicket.
Yeah. Well, no, that's not a region name.
That's not a region?
No.
Oh.
No, you have like the plains and you have the piney woods and whatever. Well, it's easier if you just go.
What's the big thicket? I always heard about the big thicket growing up. You never heard that term?
No.
You never heard of the big thicket?
I've never heard of the big thicket.
All right.
But I'm curious about it now. So regardless, but the geographic areas that we have are North Texas, East Texas, Central Texas, South Texas, and West Texas. And then a lot of times people say, well, you have there's not a big thicket, but the Gulf.
There is a big thicket.
Okay.
Oh.
The big thicket is a national preserve.
In Texas somewhere? Mm-hmm. Where?
County park. Wait, no. It is a county park.
The big
It says
thicket.
the big thicket is the name of a heavily forested area in southeast Texas.
There you go.
Okay.
Can't believe we never heard of the
That's
big thicket.
Crazy. But there are 4 other regions that are called the Gulf Coastal Plains, the Interior Lowlands, the Great Plains, and the Basin and Range Province.
Yeah.
I've never heard of those either.
No.
But regardless, when I looked at annual rainfall between just scattered around, Beaumont gets about 60 inches of rain a year. That's it.
Is that a lot? I don't even know what a lot of rain is.
It's 5 feet.
Yeah,
It's 5
but is
feet.
that a lot per year? I mean,
a lot
like,
to
what does
me.
Seattle get?
I don't know. Probably 60 inches.
Let me see what Seattle
I bet
gets.
they get probably 70 inches. But just think about that. Tell me the city or the part of Texas that you think gets the lowest amount of rain per year annually.
El Paso.
El Paso, 9 inches.
Yeah,
Can you believe that?
that's
9
ridiculous.
inches in El Paso, 60 inches in Beaumont.
Wait a second. Are you sure about Beaumont?
I'm dead positive. I looked for highs and lows. El Paso, 9, Beaumont, 60.
So this is saying Seattle ended up with 35.5 inches of rain in 2018.
It needs to get more rain. I'm just telling you.
That's weird.
Beaumont.
Everybody thinks of Seattle as being
Kind of
raining
wet and
constantly.
foggy and
And
whatever.
Beaumont gets more than that. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Move to Beaumont. Enjoy some rain. So anyway, what I thought we'd talk about are the thing that people freak out about are droughts. And it feels like we have a lot of droughts here in Texas. And so I have a number of articles that I thought we'd go through just
Let's do
very,
it.
very quickly. So a history of the drought and extreme weather in Texas. And it really gives a timeline from whatever the TWRI is. I have no idea what that agency is. Let me see if I look. Oh, here it is. Texas Water Resources Institute. So we have one of those.
Sounds like a fun place.
Well, it's part of the Texas A&M University. A&M's got everything. They've got
yeah.
everything agricultural, and they've got the TWRI, and they've been tracking droughts over time. And the first one started in 1822 with the first colonists under Stephen F. Austin, believe it or not. SFA, he had the first drought. And then you go all the way to 1900.
He didn't have the first drought.
Well, he experienced the first one as a Texan. And then 1900, you got the early years of Texas. They were dry, turn of the century, and we just didn't have squat. And,
All right.
and so remember, we didn't have reservoirs back then. So the big one that happened, you have a number of other droughts that occur, but the big one that occurred was around 1950 to 1957. That's the one that people say is the kind of climax drought of Texas. So think about it. That's 7-8 years of drought. They considered it,
More than the Dust Bowl?
President Eisenhower considered it a drought disaster.
Wow.
Now, the Dust Bowl, think about that. So that was really in 1934 to 1935. The Great Dust Bowl hits with sandstorms in Amarillo for 3 months. 7 times the visibility in Amarillo declines to 0. And then one complete blackout lasted for 11 hours. And one storm raged for 3.5 days.
That sounds pretty bad.
No, that's horrible. But the duration of that drought was not as bad. Now, the bad news is there was a drought right prior to that from 1925 to 29, and that was the age of all the wheat farming. Remember, we talked about that before, where the tractors came up, and they were tilling over millions and millions of acres of buffalo grass, which basically loosened all the soil. And then by the time that 1934 and 35 came, that's when the Great Dust Bowl occurred, because you'd had 6 years of all this wheat farming across mid-America that loosed all this soil, and there was no buffalo grass to hold it in place, and it was awful, catastrophic. And anyway, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, this says that during that time is when the Brazos River Conservation was created.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Did you ever see the Brazos River growing up?
Oh, no, just pieces of it.
I remember we used to drive out, to Graham or Olney, Loving all the time. We'd cross the Brazos River, and it always just looked like basically it was dry.
A little puddle.
Yeah, it was like a little puddle.
Yeah. The Red River, same thing, going into Oklahoma.
Well, Red River's that bad too?
Yeah, there were pieces of it during the middle of the summer where you're just like, dude, there's no water.
That's crazy.
It's amazing.
I think the rivers are up lately though.
Well, and they've gotten so much better. The Army Corps of Engineers, the agencies under the Texas A&M that actually study it and now work to preserve water, that's what's really come. But the one in 1950 to 57, that was the 7 to 8 year drought.
Driest period in our state's known history is what this says.
That's right. Just awful,
Wow.
awful. So everything died. All the crops died. And it was just awful. And then in 1957, they had heavy general rains, and that ended that drought.
And it resulted in major flooding. Several killed, hundreds of homes destroyed because of the flooding.
Right. But what came of that was that this is when all the reservoirs, somehow some brilliant team of people came up with the ideas that we need to do a better job. That we've just experienced the worst drought in history. We need to do a better job of planning for retention of water. And so that's when they came up with, they really studied the water basins, the watersheds, how water flowed across Texas, and then the use of water. And so that's when now we've got 188 known reservoirs in Texas, and that all came out in 1950. And so at the time, millions of dollars were spent of flooding these kind of lowlands and then bringing all this water in so that they could really save up for a rainy day, or in other words, save up for a dry day.
Yeah.
So that they could use this reservoir water for purposes of.
So what's the difference between a reservoir and a lake?
Well, there's only. Okay, fact checker, here we go. This is from memory. I believe there's only one man-made lake in Texas.
One man-made?
No, I'm sorry, one natural lake in Texas.
I think that may be a myth.
Okay, I'm going to tell you, it's the Caddo Lake.
But I've heard that too. Caddo Lake.
It's the Caddo Lake out on the Texas-Louisiana border, going from Dallas to Shreveport. You go Caddo Lake, it's real swampy. It's got that Spanish moss all over. It's beautiful. It's real swampy, a bunch of gators in there and all that.
Is that the one where you go across these long, like super long bridges forever going into Louisiana?
Well, no, that's Pontchartrain.
Oh, Pontchartrain's down south, right?
That's down in Louisiana, down by between.
No, I'm talking about as you're going from Texas into Louisiana. There's these long bridges, and there's this green-looking,
it may be
swampy-looking lake.
But it's called Caddo Lake, Caddo.
Caddo Lake, yeah.
And so that's the only natural lake that I know of in Texas. I'm sure there's more, but it's the only one that I know of. The rest are. I just threw a huge disclaimer in there.
You're an authority on lakes.
No, I'm not. I'm not at all. But now we've built a crap ton of reservoirs, big ones. And
so, like Grapevine Lake over here, is that a reservoir?
That's a reservoir.
Okay. So when you say reservoir, that's what we mean.
That was man-made.
Lake Louisville.
Yeah, where you've got like 5,000 acres of flooded timber.
Yeah, but we don't get our drinking water out of that, do we?
Not Grapevine, but like Ray Roberts and some of these others, you do.
We do.
Yeah, you get all your.
I have
drinking
no idea
water.
where my drinking water comes
from.
No,
your drinking water probably comes out of Lake Ray Roberts, for example, because all that's filtered to us through processing centers and all that.
Got it.
So, and then you've got reservoirs by each of the municipalities. I mean, these big water towers, they collect and hold water too.
Yeah.
So, but I think what happened was the science of water retention really came out of the 1950 drought. And that was a cool thing that happened as a result of this. So, and then, I feel like we've been in a drought recently. There were droughts all through there was one in the 60s, one in the 80s, one in the 90s. I
remember the 80s one. I remember that was.
And believe it or not, that was only 2 years. That was in 84 and 85, and where we did conservation of water. And
don't you remember that? It'd be on the news every night,
Yeah. Don't water.
Record 100-plus days. You remember that? They were counting the
Right.
100-plus days, and it was just going on.
I
And
thought
on
that
and
was
on
where
and
it
on.
was above. 1980 was the year where we had 100 straight days of above 100-degree weather.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And there was a drought in there, too.
Yeah.
I'll be. That's interesting. So then in the 90s, we had a couple. Then in 2005 to 6, we had another one. And then 10 and 11, we had another one. And then what they're saying is between 2011, this is a pretty dated article, to 2060, this is the scary thing. So they're saying at 2011, we had 25.1 million. Now in 2019, we have, I don't know, 28 million. And in 50 years, we're going to have really 46 to 50 million in the water demand at that
Million
point.
what? People?
Million people.
Okay.
And so it's all about the population in Texas and the water demands that we have here.
Yeah.
And they're going to say that we need at least 22 million acre feet a year of water, and that is going to increase 20% a year.
But don't you feel like we've had a lot more rain over the past few years?
Yeah, but it's
Like,
all
remember how all the lakes were always like bone dry, and then
Yeah.
suddenly, remember when we used to ride our bikes out to
Yeah.
Grapevine
it
Lake?
was just bone dry.
Yeah, and then suddenly a couple of years ago, it got so flooded to where it was like water was up to that guard shack that we used to ride to.
And trust me,
ridiculous.
I'm not trying to get into the we're killing the earth and the ozone layer and all that. But the thing is if you look at it over a century, if you look at weather patterns over a century, it is always very cyclical. You know, we're going to have dry periods, we're going to have very wet periods, and we're going to come back. And so
So the climate changes.
it claims
Constantly.
it changes all the time.
So why did some people say there's no climate? I mean, clearly the climate is changing.
Right.
Who says there's no climate change? How could you say that?
Well, you couldn't say that. If you look at it, between this year and last year, it's like, oh yeah, we had a glacier melt. Well, of course you did, But then if you look at it over 100 years or 500 years or 1,000, whatever. Okay.
So it changes. It's just naturally changing.
It's
over
a
time.
natural ebbing and flowing, and so droughts come, droughts go, and it feels like my neighbor told me the other day. He said, "Kyle, we hadn't had any substantial rain since July 1st, and it's mid-October now."
Yeah.
I'm
No,
like,
it's so dry out here. Like
Oh, yeah.
My grass is just hurting.
oh yeah, but it's one
But
of the.
before that, in the spring, we had
It was so wet.
it rained every day. I remember I was complaining. Kidder
Yeah.
had to tell me to stop complaining.
That's
I was
right.
complaining. It's like it rains every day. Here.
Everything was mushy.
Every
It
day.
was muddy, mushy, everything. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
So
weird.
It's just temporal. So
Bizarre.
if you take it the long-term view, then it's all good. There was another article that came up that I thought was really good, and it said, and so being a math major back in college, of course I don't know any math now, but there is this one article by the National Drought Mitigation Center. How nerdy is that? So great. But anyway, measuring drought, there are 3 metrics that you look at, and one is the Standard Precipitation Index. I'm not going to go into that. The second one is the Palmer Drought Severity Index. And the third is your crop moisture index.
I don't know how official any of these rankings actually are.
Well, no, they're official. They're like, and so the crop moisture index is a derivative of the PDSI, which is the Palmer Drought Severity. So I don't know who Palmer was, but apparently Palmer was terribly interested in droughts, and he came up with this kind of amalgamation of a formula that created an index that said of all these factors. And the one thing that they can't say is on August 14th, that's when the drought started. They have to kind of go in kind of generalities of like the year of 2012 or whatever. We started to see this,
Mm-hmm.
So that's what this Palmer Drought Severity Index, it shows kind of trends of all these factors that came in there and says, well, we're extremely wet, and it goes all the way to extreme drought of negative point.
So what is Palmer telling us right now?
He's telling us we're dry. We're dry as a bone.
I could have told you that.
Yeah. So then there's another article on. I just thought it was interesting. 5 things you might not know about water in Texas.
I thought you were going to talk about the crap moisture index.
No.
The crap moisture index.
Crap. Is it called crap?
It's right under Palmer.
It's called crop. You need to fix your glasses.
Crap moisture index.
Crop. It's a derivative. It's a derivative of Palmer. You need to.
I thought it was something about your bowel movement situation. What's your crap moisture index?
You got a smudge on your glasses.
Got
That's an
diarrhea?
O, not an A.
It ranges from constipation to severe diarrhea. The crap moisture index.
I could create an index for that. There's no question I could create an index for that.
I got a smudge on my glasses.
Yeah, it's an O, not an
All
A.
right, so we're going to skip over that one.
Yeah, so then we go to the 5 things you might not know about Texas water. And I thought this was a really interesting article where it says, number 1, water supply, and these are questions to ask. Water supplies are so low, people are drinking their own wastewater.
Well, that leads to a higher crap moisture index.
That's right.
What? Are you kidding me? People are drinking their own wastewater?
And the answer is we already are.
What are you talking about?
All the water that goes through our sewage system is taken back to a treatment plant and processed and sent back into play.
Here?
Here.
We don't need that. We got a lot of water out of Lake Ray Roberts. You talked about that earlier.
We got a lot of water. It is disgusting. I just grow Sammy.
I guess if they process it correctly, it's
they
not
process
bad.
all the urea and fecal material is processed right out.
I thought you meant without the processing.
No, you're not drinking raw.
I know I'm not, but I thought you said some people were.
You remember Gandhi? You remember who Gandhi was? Mahatma Gandhi?
Yeah, I think most people were.
Remember he drank his own urine? Did you know that?
No, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he did. He drank it out every day. He thought it was purifying. Isn't that interesting? I thought that was pretty good. You should try that.
Disgusting. No.
You should try that.
No way.
Sammy, you should try that.
I'm not drinking my own pee.
I'm just glad that we don't have a well here because my septic system does not perform well. So all that crap would end up in the well.
Okay,
that would not be good.
No, that would be bad. But regardless, drinking your own wastewater, the fact is that you probably are. That's the norm already in California and Florida, and it's probably going to be the norm across the majority of the U.S. Soon, if not it already. And then the question is, where is all of our water going?
That's
Point
such a
number
weird
2.
statement. It's such a weird statement.
Well, all 5 of these are shocking
What?
statements.
I don't even know what article you're on at this point.
This is on the stateimpact.npr.org.
Oh, okay.
It's an NPR thing.
Oh, NPR.
Yeah, there you go. NPR. Hey, always challenging by the NPR, right?
NPR, you're drinking your own urine.
Yeah. And so then the second question is, where's all of our water going? And the short answer is agriculture, right?
Yeah.
Agriculture. And so we use up 60% of the state's water via agriculture. And you know the most prolific, worst performing city in Texas?
No.
Dallas.
For what?
For overuse of
water?
Of water.
Oh, yeah, I believe that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so let me see if I can
And then,
find
as
that.
we've covered before, all of that wastewater that we do, actually, our sewage goes into the Trinity River and goes down to Houston, and they're drinking our sewage down in Houston. We've covered that before.
That was your theory before.
No, that was in one of the articles you had. You
Houston's drink.
Yeah, it said
Dallas
Houston's been
crap water
for years. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to confirm or deny that, but yeah. So 60% of all of our water goes to agricultural purposes, and actually lower down here on question 4, it gets to which city residents use the most water, and I'll get to Dallas. But number 3, it says, are we going to end up fighting over water? And the answer is probably.
When?
Yeah, and so it's on like who owns the water, and all that, because you've got all these aquifers and water authorities and all that. And so the question is, and, a lot of people say that, we pipe the water from Colorado to New Mexico already. And so who owns that water? How much do we pay for it? And actually the Texas Supreme Court has already got involved in landowners versus the Edwards Aquifer Authority. And the Edwards Aquifer is really under all the hill country right now. Yeah.
And what do they do down there?
Well, they're saying it's my water. How dare you take it? You got to pay me for it.
Who's trying to take it?
The landowners above. The water runs in the aquifer way below ground, and they're saying just like mineral rights that they have rights to the water that's underneath it. So you should pay me for use of that water that's already in kind of Mother Earth. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
It's a good one, though. And then down to the which city residents use the most water, and it's Dallas by far. Their residents use 213 gallons of water per person per day, while everybody uses far less. Houston,
Wait a second, 213 gallons per person?
per person per day.
What are they doing with that?
Well, think about the watering systems. Just think about our all of our grass. That we're watering. Showers,
toilets.
I run my watering system for 2.5 hours every other day.
You do?
Every other day, 2.5 hours, at least 2.5 hours. It may go longer. I water a ton.
Interesting.
I probably use 213 gallons a day.
Wow.
Anyway, but Houston, they use 134 gallons of water a day per person. San Antonians use 149 gallons a day. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then the question is there any water hiding out there? Is there water that we don't know about? Maybe in the aquifer, or where is water hiding that we don't know about?
I don't know.
Well, the answer is the ocean.
Well, it's not hiding. I mean, it's not.
So then there's a process called desalination.
Desalination, yeah. Why can't we desalinate water?
We should
What's
desalinate.
the problem with that?
We should desalinate.
California should desalinate.
Well-
California's running out of water, and they got miles and hundreds of thousands of miles.
They got hundreds and thousands of miles of water.
Yeah, why can't they desalinate?
They should desalinate.
What is the issue with that?
It's a very expensive process of desalination.
Cheaper than dying,
Oh, gosh.
isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. So anyway, that's it. That's all I got. So, so water. Water's important. So I thought it was kind of fun talking about droughts and rainfall by region in Texas, but I really didn't get into it. But, hey, I thought we'd talk about our state fair update. You want to do that?
Speaking of water, I did not drink enough water at the state fair.
You
I
know,
was a little dehydrated.
Amy's got me drinking 8 bottles of water a day.
Wow.
I have to go to the bathroom a lot.
That's a lot.
The older I get, the more I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, that's scary.
I don't know. The bladder just doesn't have the elasticity or something at 50. I don't know. Is that it?
Maybe.
It just gets real stiff. It fills up. It's like, oh, got to go.
State fair was good, though. It was the most crowded that I've ever experienced there. I don't know about you.
Yeah, so we did
It was super crowded.
Yeah, so we did a state fair episode, I don't know, a while back, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we talked about the beauty of the state fair and the fun of it. And so anyway, proof's in the pudding. So we all went out.
We did too.
Your
and then we
family went
ran
out?
into y'all there.
Yeah, your family went out, my family went out, and it was great. It was great to see you guys. And so, yeah, I'll just say
And you're like, Kevin, meet us at the Ford F-250 exhibit in the auto fair.
No,
I'm like, what?
it was actually the Ford F-450.
Oh, F-450. I'm like, what? I'm outside by all these trucks. You're like, no, this is indoors. Ford F-450. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, we'll find you.
Now, me and the baby were at the Ford F-450. So the baby was in there looking in. Oh, it was so fun. So that truck was awesome. I'll say I enjoyed, but forget Ford. I'm a big fan of the Dodges, right?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Rams. So we ended up getting back to the Rams. And for $72,500, I could have the car of my dreams.
Yeah.
$72,000. I mean, who pays $72,000 for a car?
We were looking at a Ford Expedition that was fully loaded.
Oh my gosh!
It was $82,000.
No, that's robbery.
It's crazy, man.
But this was
And then when I got home, I was, on the computer, and I saw this article about how the middle class in America, they're having to take out 7-year auto loans now because they can't afford the auto car.
7 years.
Yeah, that came up after I'd seen those prices.
That's insane.
It's crazy, man.
Well,
but they're just making. Don't get me started. They're making money off it said in this article that the auto companies now are just making more money off the financing than they are off the actual cars themselves.
well, I see that. So they're probably mad at you if you pay cash for something.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, all I know is that car, Cole and I, one of my twins, and I were looking at that. It was a Laramie package Dodge Ram 2500 diesel with a Hemi. It was the nicest car I've ever seen in my life. And it's $72,500. I'm not paying that.
Stupid.
I'm going to drive Franken-Truck till I'm dead. So
I'm not paying that.
what are you going to do?
Yeah.
But anyway, so back to the fair. So there was a tremendous amount of body odor.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people. There was overpriced food. And,
Okay, so what all did y'all hit? Go quickly through what y'all hit, then I'll go what we hit.
Okay,
And
so
we'll
we
compare notes.
started. Doc Shepard gave us a pass. We got to go park out by Cow Barn 1. So we got in for free, which was incredible. So it saved us $18 a head.
Yeah.
So we got in, and so we go through Cattle Barn 1, Cattle Barn 2, and we're seeing all the kids showing all their cows, which was cool because they were so proud. And that was fun to see because they were literally so incredibly proud of what they'd done for the year, and these are FFA kids. And so that was cool. So we did that. We didn't get to go into Horse Barn. Caroline wanted to do that, but we didn't get to, and so because we just missed it. And so then we kind of went into the park, and we kind of started going down all the food alley. And so we immediately got some fried cookie dough, which was amazing. And then the boys got this fried like pizza fries, which was terrible. And then we got a number of things for food, which was good. And then we ended up kind of wandering around to Big Tex. We saw that, and then I think we found you guys at the. We ran through this
auto show.
What we kind of cut through the Mattress Firm place, which was like a big. I don't know. It was like it was like all these vendors in there. So it was kind of like the flea market inside the Mattress Firm barn, which was really interesting. But we got there early.
Did you go to the Creative Arts barn?
No.
Okay.
That would have been cool.
It's right next to that mattress barn and vendor barn.
We went to the
Kinda
Casa
connected.
de Chocolat in the Women's Institute building, and
We didn't see that.
It was a Latino celebration. It wasn't a chocolate thing. I was like, oh, chocolate. It was a Latino celebration, which was
That's so
fine.
racist.
It was a
It sounded
Latino.
like they're chocolate people.
It was a Casa de Chocolat, and I'm like, oh, good. We'll go eat some chocolate. And it wasn't that at all. It was a Latino celebration. I'm like, okay, fine. Just call it a Latino celebration. Don't call it a chocolate thing.
That's so weird.
I was very upset about that.
So we went in a completely different way than I've ever gone in my life.
Did you come in through the front entrance by Big
No,
Tex?
no. We came in through some weird side entrance.
Oh.
Right by, where that main concert stage is?
Oh, yeah, we saw that. Yeah.
There's a little entrance over there behind that.
There was a guy that just kept saying, check, check, check. I'm like, dude, we hear you. It's so weird.
Somehow we came in through there. I'd never been in that way in my life.
Okay.
I'd never driven on these streets I was on. It was totally different.
Oh.
And anyway, and I'm telling, the girls hadn't been there since they were little.
Little.
Like last time we went with y'all, actually.
7 years ago.
Yeah, 7, 8 years
2012.
ago.
Yeah.
So I'm like, after our episode, I'm throwing out these facts. I'm like, the fair has the biggest Ferris wheel in North America.
Midget City.
Yeah, the biggest Ferris wheel in North America. Well, anyway, so we go in through this entrance, and there's this little rinky-dink Ferris wheel there.
You told me about this.
They're like, Dad, you're full of crap, man.
Yeah.
I was like, well, it looks kind of big, doesn't it? And literally, Sarah and I stood there looking up at this thing like,
So they have.
is that really it?
So
No.
they have two Ferris wheels.
Yeah, this was a little. It was big, but it wasn't the big one.
Was
the
it for-
big one was over by the midway.
And then that's where we were. We were over
didn't
there.
go in through there. So we went in through there, and that gives you right into Food Central.
Yeah.
So we immediately ate.
Did you get a Fletcher's corn dog?
We ended up getting a Fletcher's, but at first we got a different off-brand because the Fletcher's line was super long.
I couldn't get one. There was 100 deep at
well,
least.
okay, so out there by Big Tex, it was massive line.
Yeah.
And so Sammy and I said, well, we're not going to do that. And there was another corn dog place with no line.
Yeah.
So we got that, and it was good corny dog.
Yeah.
And then Kendra and Sarah got some nachos. They wanted to have that Ruth's taco wrap thing that we talked about.
I could never find that.
They didn't find that either.
I couldn't find that.
So anyway, that's the first thing we did. And then the first thing we did was we went to the auto show and saw y'all. We had just got there at that point.
Well, I was trying to get that, what's the big red donut with chicken on it?
Oh, yeah, Big Red with fried chicken.
Yeah. I was trying to get that too. And the line for the Fletcher's corn dog was at least 100 deep.
Yeah.
And the line for the big red donut with chicken on it was probably 80 deep.
Oh, really?
And I'm just like, dude, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. So we did the auto show, and then we walked back down the other way And we went into a couple of barns. We didn't go all the way to the cow barn. We didn't go that far.
That's where we were parked. We were parked right on the other side of the cow barn.
But we did go through the horse barn. We
you did?
That. Yeah.
Okay.
And we saw a little petting zoo thing.
We did go to the Little Cowhands petting zoo, and that was crazy fun.
Oh, yeah.
They had ostriches. They had kangaroos with little joeys in their pouch.
We saw a couple things in there, but it was so crowded we bailed out.
We stayed.
We did go through the cow barn.
No, there's a different cow barn that he's talking about.
There's two
it's a
big
different,
there's two
there's a
big cow
building.
barns on the way back.
We didn't go to that.
And they were doing judging.
Yeah, we didn't get that far.
But the Little Hands, the Little Hands.
That was so crowded. We barely got in, and we saw like a goat and another cow. That's where we saw a cow. We got out of there because it was way too crowded.
Really, really early. That was at like 10:30 or so when we got there. And I'm telling you, between 10:30 and 11:30, it's like hundreds of thousands of people have showed up.
Yeah.
And this was on a Sunday, so we skipped church and went. And it was amazing because it was fun for the first hour. And then it's like another couple 100,000 people just showed up.
Oh, it got so crowded. I did get to do the two things I like the most. One is the dog. Did y'all see the dog show that I told you about?
No.
Oh, so we got to see that. There was one that came on at 3:00, and it's in the big arena next to the like that petting zoo and all that stuff.
Yeah,
they have pig races and they have a dog show.
No, I missed that.
So we got to see that, and that's super cool. It's all these rescue dogs, and they've trained them. Like these trainers will take these rescues and train them to this uber top level.
Oh, that's so cool.
So they go out and they do all these frisbee tricks and run through obstacle courses and all this stuff. So we saw that.
Okay.
And then we went, but at that point, by the time you stepped out of that barn, that was in that main kind of row.
And then you're done.
And you
can't move.
You can't move. And so we were just kind of stuck there. So we wiggled our way down, but it takes forever to work through there.
Yeah, and we had a stroller, so we were toast.
So then we went over to the mattress barn area with all those vendors, and I knew that the craft stuff is next to that.
Oh, yeah.
And because those two barns are connected. So we went through that, went back to the craft area, and that's cool. You would love that area.
I would like that.
And that's where like people go to enter their own stuff in.
Okay, I would like that.
So there's like jellies, there's pickles, there's Lego sculptures that people have entered, there's antique collections. I mean, it's just
okay, I would like that.
Wall after wall that displays all that stuff. So we saw that.
Okay. No, we were done.
And then after that, we got in line. Sarah was like, I want a Fletcher's corny dog.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got in line for the Fletcher's corny dog. But there was one over there in that area that the line wouldn't. We still had to wait maybe 5 minutes.
Well, I still have some coupons.
Yeah, I did too.
It's just a short sale war. So, yeah, I've got the map and a coupon in my.
So we got a Fletcher's too. So we were able to compare the Fletcher's to the other generic brand. And I thought Fletcher's was a lot better. Sammy didn't.
Oh, really?
Sammy didn't.
You didn't think so?
No.
But I thought Fletcher's was significantly better.
Fletcher's is so good.
Yeah.
So good.
So we did that. And then we had a bunch of tickets. So then we just started eating crap.
Yeah, crap. That's
so
what
Kendra had a fried Twinkie, and Sammy had fried pizza, and Sarah got fried Oreos.
That's what we did.
And then we had funnel cakes. And
we did get funnel cakes, yeah.
But that's how they get you, man. So we pre-bought all these tickets.
That's
so
what
then we had to spend them. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have spent all that
I wouldn't
crap.
have spent that either.
Yeah.
There's no way.
I got like 12 tickets left over.
Yeah, I got all this.
But it was a good time. And then we waddled out to the car. I felt like garbage.
Yeah, indigestion after eating all that fried junk.
Like I was dying on the inside.
Yeah.
But it was great. It was an awesome time.
It was good. It was just, gosh.
And we didn't go to the Midway at all. Did y'all do that?
No.
Yeah.
And Caroline wanted to ride some rides, and
so
I'm
did
like,
Sammy.
Sammy's
like, let's ride some rides.
We're not doing that. Yeah, we're not doing that. So, yeah. No, we were ready to go. Well, it was a good time. All right. Well, hey, thanks for everybody for listening on our ramblings on drought and rainfall.
In the Texas State Fair.
All right. You guys take care.
All right. Adios. Bye.